30 years ago tonight, baseball history was made here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, in front of a crowd of nobody. Or almost nobody. That guy in the corner is Bob Breck.
You're the only fan.
I was the only fan on the first base side at the end of the game.
By comparison, the third base side was packed, according to Gary Levin.
There are about 5 to 8 actual fans here.
Of course, it didn't start out that way. Earlier that evening, 1,740 people had shown up to watch the Pawtucket Red Sox take on the Rochester Red Wings. Most of the fans, we can only assume, had every intention of staying till the end of the game. But several events conspired against them.
Cool and windy night here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island.
The first was the weather.
Felt like a blizzard, but without the snow.
So a lot of people left during the course of the night.
And yet it wasn't the cold that drove away the bulk of them. It was the clock. The game started just after 8 and continued till just before sunrise. The longest game in baseball history. They played 32 innings that night, spent 8 hours in frigid cold, and still, nobody won. Around 4 a.m., the league president ordered them to finish it another day, which they did. In just one inning, Pawtucket finally took it in the 33rd by a score of 3-2. Today, folks in Pawtucket continue to celebrate every 5th anniversary of the game, not only to relive the memories,
great to see you,
but according to then equipment manager Michael Kinch, to be re-inspired by them as well.
I think I got a good life lesson right there.
Back then, Michael's nickname was Hood, which he got for stealing hubcaps. He says he was never a bad kid, but seeing those guys fight so hard for so long in such cold definitely made him a better adult.
I found out what a professional was that after that game, and I carried it through on my professional life.
He's now a deputy police chief.
State of the job's done.
His words help explain why people in Pawtucket still cling to that game after all these years. But it still doesn't explain these two. Why would anyone who's not getting paid spend 8 hours in bitter cold at a meaningless minor league baseball game? I posed that same question to both of them.
When I was a little kid,
and got the same answer.
My father left a sporting event early with me once.
we were going to beat traffic and go home.
And the other team came back and won, and I said I'd never leave a sporting event early again in my life.
So let that be a warning to you parents.
I never forgot that.
Or someday, you may just find your children frozen to death in an empty baseball stadium.
There's something else interesting about the endless game. Cal Ripken Jr. and Wade Boggs both played that night, and they, of course, went on to big careers in the major leagues. If you want to know more, there's a great book out now called Bottom of the 33rd, and you can read about it at cbsnews.com.
Hey, it got them on television. They're local celebrities.
That's
so
right. It did
maybe
pay off
that's
for
a
them.
reason they also stayed. But meanwhile, how did the game go on until 4 a.m.? Isn't there some kind of curfew or some kind of rule about that?
Well, 1 a.m. is the curfew, and there was then, but somehow it got left out of the umpire's book that year.
Oops.
So the umpire said, it's not in our book, we're going to keep playing.
All right, Steve, thanks so much.